AI6DG K6QNJ. That's a really great shot. Bob, N6PGQ.
Boy, that's my comment too. Somebody was sure in the right place with the camera and got the exposure right. So it looks like we've got a whole bunch of stars up in the top and some cliffs throughout the rest of the picture. They might be lava because what it looks like to me is either lava in the bottom or a whole bunch of cities. I can't tell from the size of the screen I've got, with a nice waterfall on the left side. So really good picture. N6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. Carol, KP4MD.
Yeah, this is KP4MD. Picture came through very well, as you could see on YouTube. I don't know if I could believe this is a real physical photo. It looks like some kind of artist conception painting. It's so kind of otherworldly, but it came through very well. See the kind of the gray landscape of looks like looking down a canyon with a waterfall on the left side. Something looks like the Milky Way arcing over there, and the background there in the sky with some stars. And I don't know, in the valley, are those lights of civilization? Maybe there's some towns or some kind of dwellings there. Interesting. Back to Nets, KP4MD.
Yeah, I had a really good copy. A few pixel pops at the top of the picture, little white flecks. My initial reaction was Hawaii and the current volcano, and Yosemite with the waterfall. So I'm interested to hear more about this, Joel. AI6DG.
My turn?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is not a picture that I took. I'm stealing it from Facebook. So Facebook has a group called Yosemite Photography that I just scrolled down until I found a nice photo. And the post is a Britain Andrew, posted on December 4th with the text of Milky Way over Yosemite Valley. This photo is stacked, 9 to 10 photos for a foreground panorama, and the same for the sky. There's lots of nice photos in this particular Facebook group. To my perspective, most of them are just mediocre. Some of them are bad. Most of them are the same old photographs from the same old place with not much that's interesting. But I've got kind of a jaded view on that because I'm so familiar with the Yosemite and the various places to take photos and views, and have seen them all and done them all. And of course, everyone always just gushes about how beautiful they are, and yes, they're beautiful, but they're just the typical photos. Every once in a while, though, there's something that's unusual. It's the technical skill that was had to be exhibited to take it, the location, something unusual about it. This one hits a couple of those criteria because it's beautiful. Milky Way galaxy shot. It's a nighttime shot. It's an unusual spot, and it's stacked so at nighttime. So there's some skill and effort into taking it. This guy had an image in mind, and he went out and took it. Interesting things in the shot. You've got. I'm going to go from left to right. On the left, you can see the trail, Upper Yosemite Falls Trail, winding up the upper part of the gully that it goes up before it hits the upper rim. Of course, you've got the Yosemite Falls coming down. Just above and to the right of that, you've got Yosemite Point and Lost Apron that I know are there. Excuse me, not Lost Arrow. Lost Arrow. If you know it's there, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. Above that, above Yosemite Falls, and all the way up to the horizon between land and sky is Clouds Rest. To the right of that dead center is Half Dome and a bunch of the High Sierra way back in the background, to the right of Half Dome. Extreme right on the horizon would be a little protrusion is North Dome, and then valley lights. This is a stacked and time exposures. So you're looking at all the different nighttime lights from the buildings and street lights and everything in the valley. That's what all the lights are. The main blob in center bottom is the village and lodge where all the main National Park Service facilities are. Above and to the left of that is the Ahwahnee Hotel. On the right side, the upper cluster of lights would be Curry Village and maybe one of the campgrounds, and the lower right would be, I believe, housekeeping camp. Nice photo. The sky's a little overexposed. The land is a little underexposed for my liking, but still impressive. Back to net AI6DG.
AI6DG, KN6QNJ. Craig, who's watching on YouTube, got it right as well. Thank you for that detailed description. I recognize some of the landmarks. Carol or Bob, do you have any questions for Joel?
No, now that he describes it, the little thumbnail I'm kind of looking at right at the moment, it makes good sense. N6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. Before we move to you for an image transmission, let me check to see if there's anybody else who would like to join us tonight. All right, Bob, N6PGQ, go ahead. Thanks, Bob. I got good copy. Glass unit on a wooden table. I have a little flecks of pixel pops throughout, but nothing too bad. It looks to me like some kind of insulator. Carol, KP4MGD, go ahead.
Yeah, this is KP4MD. This looks like what they call a dog bone insulator. It's made of glass, typically used for the ends of dipoles. Um, Interesting. It's got the two holes, of course, in the ends there. And I don't know, I haven't seen one of these glass insulators in a while. But the quality of the picture is good. It's on top of a wooden table. And I don't see any physical pops at all. You could see what I got there on YouTube. Back to you. This is KP for MD.
Thanks, Carol. Joel, AI6DG.
Interesting. I was going to call it an egg insulator, but I can see that that's a different shape than what you're calling a dog bone. I hadn't heard that before, but it makes sense that different shapes insulators would have different names based on the differences in the shapes. But yeah, wooden desk, seam down the middle. So I don't know if it's a leaf or if it's like a dining room table where you can add things in the center. Old style glass insulator. Do they even make these anymore? Everything's plastic now. But yeah, cool. Egg insulator. Collector's item probably. Back to net, AI6DG.
Thanks, Joel. Yeah, and it looks handmade or hand blown or hand spun. I'm not sure how they made them. Bob, N6PGQ, go ahead.
Well, this is N6PGQ. Yeah, you guys all have it. It's a dog bone insulator. It's about 7.5 inches long and is glass of some type. It's clear. It's old. I have no idea. It was my father-in-law's, and so it's sitting on a shelf. And I was at Neil's house, and both he and I looked and said, "Oh no, it's Wednesday. We have to have a picture." So came home, and it's on the shelf, and I threw it on the table and took a picture, and there it is, N6PGQ.
That's an excellent story. Joel or Carol, any more questions for Bob? All right, I'm going to check one more time to see if anybody else has come on and would like to join us. This is KN6QNJ. Carol, KP4MD, it's your turn.
Okay, this is KP4MD. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Craig, WP2N, out there in Cajun country, Louisiana, who is following us on YouTube Live. So, and this is also going to be PD.
Okay, Carol, KP4MD. I have really good copy, and I see that you were involved in creating a circuit of some kind. I'm going to pass it to Joel for comment. All right, AI6DG, go ahead.
Good capture, a few pops, a little bar on the bottom, probably the repeater ID, and a text clip from probably a scan of QST from the article where Carol was mentioned. Back to net, AI6DG.
Copy that. One thing is, I think there's a picture next to the description, but I only get part of the picture, which I assume is a picture of the tinsel tin transmitter, which I'm wondering if it was created for the holiday season. Bob, N6PGQ, go ahead.
Well, I think we're all in trouble. First, Phil gets his name in the magazine, and now Carol does again. And so, I don't know, we're going to have to step it up or something like that. Yeah, this is an article in QST, and it sounds like an interesting project, N6PGQ. Quality's good, by the way.
Yeah, it is good quality. Carol, KP4MD, can you tell us about this?
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is KP4MD. I was not even aware of this until James, you brought it to my attention. This is in the December. This is the current month's issue of QST magazine. I believe it's page 22. There's a section called Up Front where people send in little clips and pictures of things that they've built. And this was, it was a modification I did to the N6NA. That's the transmitter. It was a project that the DIY radio group of the River City Arcs built using a Arduino Nano, driving a SI5351 synthesizer and a IRF 510 MOSFET as a QRP transmitter, CW transmitter. And we did some improvements on the circuit to raise the output. The original transmitter output was like half a watt, and you could get a lot more out of an IRF 510 if you just raised the drive level. So that was a few transistors and a few resistors, and it brought up the output to an additional 10 dB almost. So I saw that, and wow, I said, let me go ahead and just take a, like you say, a scan of this, and wanted to see how clearly would be legible on this PD120, and apparently I got it so you could actually read it. Yeah, the picture there, of course, if I had zoomed out to include the picture, I don't think you would be able to read the text. But it's called the tinsel tin transmitter because this G4USI who built it put it into a Christmas cookie tin, and that's if you know the history of the tuna tin transmitter, the original one was built into a tuna can, and so since he used a Christmas cookie can, he just calls it the tinsel tin, which I thought was kind of cute. So that's it. Back to Nets, KP4 Mike Delta.
Thanks, Carol. That's a good story. This is KN6QNJ. Any questions for Carol? Okay, I am going to transmit an image PD120. Okay, Joel, AI6DG, do you want to tell us what you see?
Trees in the background. We're looking at either the shoulder of a road or the edge of a parking lot, kind of at a diagonal angle. We've got in the foreground on the left, we've got 3 gentlemen in bright orange vests, kind of out in rain gear, and in front of them there's a folding table set up with a bunch of cups kind of stacked into a big tree or pyramid that's a couple, 2 or 3 feet tall, and a long-haired person, I would assume a woman, but never assume that these days, even these days, in a jacket. So I got a pitcher of water that she's filling up the top cup. I'm assuming to do that thing where you fill the top and it cascades and fills all the cups down below. And if you look in behind her and across in the background, you see some more tables set up and some porta potties and some more orange vested people. And I'm assuming this has something to do with the marathon a weekend or 2 ago. With maybe even more cups of water on the table in the background. Back to net, AI6DG. Oh, and there's a no parking sign on a post in the background, in the near background behind the gentleman on the left. Back to net, AI6DG.
AI6DG, K6QNJ. Bob, N6PGQ, go ahead.
Well, it was pretty much covered. It looks like these people have way too much time on their hands, waiting for either runners or someone to come along, have a piece of refreshment there. You can see the other stations back in the background, as was mentioned before. This is probably a marathon or some kind of race where people are stopping at an aid station as their way through. But obviously there's no one coming because they're on happy time, I guess, N6PGQ.
I know Carol hasn't gone yet, but you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Carol, KP4MD.
Yeah, I would guess this is also a California Marathon. Since that was on Sunday, I was driving and ran into, actually crossed the path of the marathon there, and said, "Oh, yep, this is what's going on today." Yep, I imagine that has to do with that. And it looked like, kind of, the sky looked like it would look like that day. Nothing else. KP4MG.
Well, you all were pretty right. I was with Sacramento County Aries. I was with 3 doctors and an EMT at mile 22, right in front of the Sac State entrance on J Street. There were probably 20 or 30 kids from El Dorado High School who were working this station. And at about, hour 5 or so, when the runners are just trickling by, the kids started entertaining themselves. So, Bob, you really were absolutely right about that. The blue containers along the back actually are not outhouses. Those are holding water, because there was no other source of water that was used to fill up the water and the electrolyte cups. And it was a good experience, and it didn't rain until about hour 5, 5.5. So if you were a slow runner walker, you got drenched in a lightning thunderstorm. Anyway, I thought that'd be kind of fun for tonight. This is James K6QNJ. Any questions?
Question.
Go ahead, Joel.
So I've only worked the marathon a couple of times, and I was quite a bit further back. It's definitely an interesting experience and worth doing at least once. So I remember there were some real stragglers that they were still running even after they closed stations. So, they don't close the station after the last person passes. They close after some percentage of them do, and there's still some that go by afterwards. So did you experience that where you were?
Yes, because I was near the end of the race. So at this point there was only 4 miles to go. So runners who were going to drop out had already dropped out. And at this point, you have runners who want to finish, even if they're hurt. And then you have the walkers and runners who just want to do it for fun, and they don't care how long it takes. But after a certain period, the race started at 7 a.m. By noon, we were beginning to shut down, but there were still some people on the course. But by the time they got down to the state capitol where the finish is, probably everything would be gone. So there was one more aid station after my aid station, but they probably didn't have any support after about 12 o'clock. Any other questions about this? It is a good experience. It's kind of fun. It's important work, particularly for these long races. We amateur radio operators really help the race organizers keep a sense of situational awareness. It's a really good thing to do for the community, as you all know, and it's a great way of testing our equipment, particularly the waterproofness of my handheld.
So I take it then that ham equipment was used, because one of the years I helped the we were using fire department radios.
Yeah, the doctors at the aid stations also have fire department radios issued. Frankly, and I put this in my comments, it causes a lot of confusion. They are really not interested in handling the radios, so sometimes they just give them to us because they're just not radio operators and they're focused on other things. So it's possible, actually, they may just, I'm recommending get rid of the fire department radios or just don't rely on them. And they get very little use anyway, almost all of the communications through us.
Now, the one year that we had fire department radios that I was there, we were not using ham radios at all. It was only the fire department, but obviously things have changed. So I gather you had 2 radio systems in use, but mostly just ham.
Yeah, there were 2 radio systems in use, but mostly just ham. It just causes confusion, which was my comment. I think we need one system. The fact is that everybody's sitting in the same trailer at the finish line. They all can hear what each other is receiving. And so I don't think it's an ideal situation. We should pick one or the other. I guess I don't care, although it's nice, again, to be able to use our equipment to practice.
Yeah, I think they've tried different things and had different people with different ideas over the years. Back to net, AI6TG.
Thanks, Joel, for the questions. Any other questions before I close the net? All right, everybody, thank you. Let me get to the right paragraph. Thanks to all who participated in tonight's Slow Scan TV Net. We hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. The net is officially closed at 9:36 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is James, Kilo November 6, Quebec November Juliet, wishing all of you a good evening.